Hi, my name is Bria Simone Henderson. I am an actress, a writer, a poet, many things.
And I guess we could start things off jumping right into it. This
Mhm.
is a pretty big year for you, right? I mean, you got your first major gig on a network television show. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what that is for people who may or may not recognize you?
Right. So I was a guest star for The Good Doctor last year for season 4, and then they asked me to come back, and now I'm a series regular this year for season 5 of The Good Doctor, which is very exciting. I get to play the amazing, the bold, and the very confident Dr. Jordan Allen.
Awesome. And it's you and I think Noah, right? Noah
Mhm.
Galvin, that you
No.
guys were like brought on board last season. And then you guys were the remnants, right? You were a part of a small group of people that stood and
Yes. Yes, so they called us the newbies. So it was uh, four new like resident doctors coming in, and we all kind of were like in competition with each other, trying to see who was going to get placed at the hospital. And yeah, and so me and Noah are back this season, and we get to play some more, which is really exciting.
Noah, for those of you who may or may not know him, he's quite a big deal on Broadway. He did play Dear Evan. He was the lead in Dear Evan Hansen for a bit, and he was also in Booksmart, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So he's got
Hmm.
he's got quite the history. He's a very talented actor. I think you guys do a fantastic job. I don't watch the show religiously, but I usually catch it after Dancing with the Stars. So
Yeah.
I've seen some of you guys' performances. I think it's a really interesting show. And that kind of leads me into my next question. How did you become involved with it? Do you have a personal connection to the story in any way, shape, or form? I know it's not based on a real story; it's an adaptation of a TV show. But walk me through about how you got attached to the Good Doctor.
Yeah, so last year in 2020, pandemic, we're still in a pandemic. But I'm an actor, so we get a lot of auditions, and this was the one of few that came in for me last year. And I just remember reading the breakdown for this woman, and I was just kind of like sold on it because I don't usually get breakdowns. I'm a plus size actress, and usually for roles for full figured women or bigger women, it there's not much space for positivity around who that character can be and will be in whatever world they're building. And so for Jordan, it was she's full figured, she's confident, she's proud, she's smart, she's a hustler, she's an entrepreneur, she loves money, she loves fashion. And I was like, oh my goodness, of course. Like it was the first of very few breakdowns that I've ever seen that described a character that looked like me in that way. And so that's what kind of sold me on that, especially her Baptist side and her being a devout Christian. I'm a Christian, and I'm big on my spirituality, and so I felt immediately connected to Jordan. And then I got the call back, and I had to wait weeks and weeks and weeks. The wait is horrible. You never get used to the wait of waiting to see if you booked a part or if you don't. But I remember a friend reinforced this quote that I think we all hear, is that bad news travels fast. So anytime you're waiting a long time, it might be something good, or you're still in the mix. That's still good. So I'm keeping that with me for like the next things in the future. And I got the call back, and then I got a producer's call back, and I was like on Zoom because we were in a pandemic, so we weren't doing in-person auditions. So I was on Zoom. It was like 8 different boxes, 8 different people. I had no idea who these people were, and I just had to do the sides for them. It was nerve-wracking, but I just remember the casting director Liz Dean giving me a thumbs up in her box. That was the only box that was familiar for me on the Zoom. So I looked at her, and she just kind of gave me a thumbs up, and I think I kind of sat within and said, I think this might be mine. I don't know. And I had to wait another few weeks. And then I got a call from my rep saying that I got it. And it was like, yes, across the board, which is really exciting. And yeah, I think I still have to tell myself that story all the time, just to remind myself of the journey and how far I've come in my career thus far.
Oh, that's awesome. I was checking out your IMDb credits, and you had worked on Miss America, right, with a bunch of other famous women. But I didn't watch the show. I apologize. But what capacity did you work with them? How big was your role there compared to now The Good Doctor?
So I had a 4 episode arc for my character. I played Margaret Sloan, who was a radical feminist, a real woman, and who was one of the co-founders of the National Black Feminist Organization, who was also a poet, and she just stood for many things, and she was really a face, or a vessel for the intersectionality between sexism, racism, and she was a fierce leader in the 70s, and a lot of people don't know about her. So it was an honor. That was my first ever like TV booking ever, and I got to play a real person, which was exciting. And it was with Kate Blanchett and Uzo Adoba and Niecy Nash and Rose Byrne and Jay Ellis. It was with so many people I've watched for years on TV, and I was a nervous wreck the entire time of filming. But even though I had 4 episodes on Mrs. America, I just had like 1 or 2 scenes sprinkled through the season. But in my first episode of Good Doctor, I did more than I did on Mrs. America. In my first episode, I was like, "What's happening here? This is what it feels like." So yeah, it's weird because I've already done 16 episodes of Good Doctor from season 4, and so sometimes I have to go back and just look at all the work I've done so far in a year, and it's a lot. And you're just like, I did all of that. I can't even remember.
And so that leads me to something else I wanted to ask. So I guess we can agree to that. The Good Doctor was your first major appearance on a TV show, right? Especially with all the scenes that you appeared in your first episode. How I'm assuming you had to film during the pandemic. So what was it like? As your introduction to the scene, quote unquote, to be under such restrictions.
So last year, coming in, we film in Vancouver. So one, I had to leave home, and I think I was only guaranteed 5 episodes in season 4. And I packed for maybe 2 months because 5 episodes is about 2 months worth of being away. And they had us stay housed in hotels, great hotels, and 5 episodes turned into 16. And because of the pandemic, we were not able to just fly across the border anytime we had a couple of days off. We were in Vancouver. So imagine me coming in with just a suitcase for 5 episodes, and that turns into 8 months of work. So I just had to buy new clothes. I had to like create home in the hotel. I started doing like paint by numbers. I just tried to find any hobby because also we had to quarantine last year. We had to quarantine for 2 weeks. So the only time we were able to go home was during Christmas. And even with Christmas, we only got like a week off because we had to make up that 2 week quarantine coming back. And so I was just like hotel living for like almost a year. It was very strange. Me, Noah, Summer, who played Olivia in season 4, and Brian, who played Enrique, we all had Thanksgiving in Noah's hotel room because we all had our own little COVID bubble, so we could hang out with the castmates, but we couldn't hang out with anybody else. And so it was very strange. I met some amazing friends up here, though. I did meet some other amazing actors up here, Danielle Brooks, and Alex Newell, and so I got to get to know them too last year. So they were my saving grace during filming last year. It was a mind it definitely tricked my mind up a lot because you're living your dream of being on a TV show and acting and being on set, but you're in like a nightmare. So yeah.
No, but you know what? That's good because if you think about it like this, you start off with those conditions, then you're prepared for anything. It can only get better from that point on, right?
It can only get better. And so I've been able to film through trying times. So any other filming situations, like I'm ready. Come get me.
And so the segues into the other thing. So, like I said, I know this is a pretty big year, not only getting your promotion on ABC, but you also are working on a short film that's about to hit the festival circuit, right?
Yes, it's an indie pilot that it's a story that I've been sitting on and kind of like working through for 3 years now. I've always been a writer. I started writing in high school, and that turned into me writing poetry. So I've been a spoken word artist for a long time. Me and one of my closest friends, my apprentice, we were like a duo back in the day in our undergrad times. And from there, that turned into playwriting. So, for school, I went to Spelman College. I majored in drama. We had playwriting class. So we had to write 10-minute plays. And then I went to grad school, and every year we had to put on a solo show. And so I have like two solo shows under my belt, and I have like two 10-minute plays under my belt. And then when I moved to LA, I was living on the couch for a year. I was couch surfing from Seattle, LA, and New York, because I was just trying to figure out how to make my dreams happen. Because I went to Seattle for grad school, University of Washington, and then graduated from there and moved to LA. And LA is just such a tricky town to break into, but I'm always someone who wants to create the space for me. I think I've always been put in situations where I had to just create for me. And my indie pilot, it's called Virginality, and it's about it's about the misadventures of a 30-ish virgin who is a TV writer's assistant, and she wants to be in the writer's room for a show. But she's always labeled with the words pure and clean and innocent, and she's pushed to kind of go outside of those limitations and really explore her womanhood as she should, and she's been depriving herself of for so many years. So the indie pilot follows that journey of the main character. Her name is Jade Michelle Mason. I play the lead, and I executive produced it. I wrote it and starred in it, and I got to cast my best friends in it and work with an amazing director, Vanna James, and we just finished post-production, and now we're shopping it to different festivals. So it's like fingers crossed, because by the end of this year, hopefully next year, I should be pitching it to streaming and networks, because I believe in it.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds fantastic. It sounds a lot like if 40-year-old virgin, but like he was younger and he's trying to get his career off the ground.
Yes.
It also has like the Jane the Virgin angle where nobody takes her
Yes.
because she's so pure. It sounds interesting. I would love to check it out whenever it's done.
Right. Thank you. Yes, a trailer should be coming out within the next couple of weeks, so I can just put on my social media just to kind of, gain some attention. And it's exciting because it's my baby and I did it. And so I just want the world to kind of see a little bit of what I've done. But it's kind of like Michaela Cole's Chewing Gum kind of mixed with Billy Piper's I Hate Susie. And my mom always calls me Lucy, because like Lucille Ball, because comedy is just the thing that I always loved and always did. And so it's like if Lucille Ball had, natural hair and some hips, it's that.
That's awesome. That's a really great comparison. No, but I think, and I know Michaela Cole, she's doing her thing, and she's got a great writer, and she's got a great history of making her own projects, like Issa Rae too. So
yes, they are two of my muses, Issa Rae and Michaela Cole. That's the career path I want to go on.
That sounds incredible, and I'm really excited to check it out. And I do wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank you so much.
I was reading it. They sent me over like a little, I think, one pager on it, and I was reading it. Yeah. So I was reading it. I was like, this sounds really interesting. And I'm like I said, I'm really excited to see what happens with it. So, are you allowed to say what festivals you've entered yet? I know it's so weird because a lot of them have different deadlines. Like some of the ones that aren't until like March or April are right now.
Right. So I can tell you which ones I've already submitted to.
Sure.
I submitted to Sundance. That is one of my top ones. I've always been the person that watched the films and the things that go to Sundance, and I'm just like, one day. I submitted to the Oscar Michaud Film Festival. I won Outstanding Comedic Actress this year at the 2021 Oscar Michaud Film Festival for a short film that I starred in called Prepared, by Erica Kelly. And so I'm submitting to that. I submitted to Slam Dance, and I submitted to South by Southwest. I will be submitting to Tribeca. And a lot of others. There's like a whole list that I have, but those are the main ones. And Bronze Lens Film Festival as well in Atlanta, Georgia. So fingers crossed.
So winding down, I know you have so much going on in your life. They told me that it was really hard to get a free window for you because you're such a busy person.
Because filming is crazy. Filming can have me up and down and all the way around. But thank you for having some time for
No, no,
me.
no, no. And I just had a couple more questions. First,
Yes.
well, lastly, so ever since the Good Doctor started, I've had this question in my mind. You may not know anything, but I would love to ask to see if maybe you do.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
it always bothered me that the Good Doctor is well. It always felt to me that the Good Doctor was a way to kind of phase Grey's Anatomy out because it's been on the air for so long. Right, I
Hmm.
think it's going on like 20 seasons. But it always bothered me that they have all these other crossovers with like the Station 19, then they got the rookie now. I don't know if he's done a crossover yet, but do you think or have you heard, are there any rumblings that the Good Doctor, I mean, it would be a natural transition to have him appear on Grey's Anatomy or vice versa? Any of that? You know any about something like that?
I have not heard anything about that happening. But I too have also had the same thought, like, why don't we do a crossover episode? I would love to be in the same world as Dr. Miranda Bailey. I think it would be amazing. I have watched Chandra Wilson for a long time, and she's just amazing and she's fierce. And I just remember the pilot, and I remember getting introduced to, I think they called her the Nazi. And like it was just like boom, boom, boom. And I just loved like what she represented for black women, and then black women in a professional environment. And so I would look, if they ever did a crossover episode, I would be very excited. But I have not heard anything. I haven't.
Rats. And, I'm so happy for her that she's one of the last people that they have not killed off in the entire
Yes.
show.
Yes. Very true. Very, very true. Very
But
true.
yeah, there. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I was like, it makes the most sense to me that the Good Doctor, they're setting it up, and I mean, it's got enough great ratings that they're bringing it back for more seasons. For it to be a way to phase out Grey's Anatomy, but like you said, I guess we'll just have to see what happens. And
Yeah.
yeah, my final question for you um, is there anything that you want to tease that people should expect? A story arc that you're excited for people to see later this year, or anything that people should stay tuned for? Fans of the Good Doctor should stay tuned for.
Um, I just think this season is really exciting. Fans and people who are watching got introduced to Salem Morrison, and how she came into the hospital and kind of turned things upside down, and how that is affecting everybody. And everyone gets to kind of question things beyond the medicine, question their own personal beliefs, question their own morals, question their own agendas. And these characters are just so nuanced to me. And I love these different characters on the show. So just to get to see them be challenged and have to go through certain obstacles and situations and grow, it's exciting. And I think with Salem being a part of this hospital right now, it's a lot more twists and turns to expect. And so keep watching. I feel like the writers and David Shore, they're keeping us on our toes. They're keeping me on my toes as well. So keep watching. I think everyone will enjoy this season. Keep watching.
What I do appreciate about the show is that it started off with the main character as like the Trojan horse, where it kind of leads you into thinking that the show is only going to be about him, and then it introduces all these like
Yes.
fascinating characters and arcs that you kind of get hooked on. So yeah. Bria, it was a pleasure to be speaking with you. I can't wait to see where your career goes. It sounds like you have a lot of exciting things in the works. And
Yes.
yeah, hopefully you get to follow in the footsteps as your favorite muses and maybe even do
Yes.
more. Okay. So,
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
no, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to speak with us. And yeah, unless you have anything else that you want to say, have a great day.
No. Yes, you too. Have a good one.